before I asked Jack Foster to speak, you can go ahead and sit down. And there's plenty of seats up here if somebody needs to sit down during this. We got a long-winded speaker today. I've asked Jack to speak before, and he said, I don't have anything to talk about. Well, last summer, him and I went on this honor flight, and we was in Ruth's beauty shop. That's where all the action happens. And I asked him again, and he said, well, yeah, I could talk about the honor flight. So we have Jack Foster here to give our speech.
Gee, thanks. Yeah, there's a lot more to that story than Carl's telling. Every sheet of this that blows away, it'll be that much shorter. Veterans, family, and friends. When I was asked by Carl to speak today, I told him I didn't know what to talk about. His response was, tell him about the honor flight. I said he was on that and he could do it just as well as I. But he let me know that he has the sound system. And he couldn't make the speech. So it kind of reminded me of a story they tell about Bill Bradley when he was seated at a head table at a political banquet. When the busboy delivered the standard pat of butter and a roll on the bread plate, Bradley said, excuse me, son, could I have a couple more pats of butter? He says, I'm sorry, sir, but we were told to only give one pat to each person. Do you know who I am, Bradley asked. I'm Bill Bradley, All-American forward for Princeton, All-Star forward for the New York Knicks, U.S. Senator from New Jersey. Really? Do you know who I am, the lad replied. Surprised, Bradley says, no, who are you? He says, I'm the guy with the butter. Carl is the guy with the sound system. A little background on my military history, which isn't very exciting, but first of all, I graduated from high school in May of 1946, just 2 months after my 17th birthday. The draft was still on, and you had about 4 months after you reached 18 before they called you up. That would have put me about almost through my freshman year at K-State, and that didn't sound like a good choice. I enlisted in the Army Air Corps in 1946. In late January or early February, I got a call from my folks saying that they had bought a telephone company. My first question was, where? They said Milton Vale. Well, Milton Vale didn't mean anything to me. I had no idea where it was. He said, well, it's west of Manhattan. I'd been west of Manhattan twice, once to go to Smith Center pheasant hunting as a senior, and the other time when I got on a bus in Topeka to go out to Smoky Hill at Salina to enlist and be sworn in. I spent my whole enlistment at Scott Field, and the exciting part about that was I was teaching people how to climb poles, and I was teaching them how to do construction and splice cable, and then I taught them math. Now that's quite an exciting thing for 3 years. I married my high school sweetheart in December of 1947. We had Mike in April of 49, and I was discharged in July of 49, and the three of us moved. Can you hear me now? The three of us moved to Milton Vale. I've been here ever since. I guess you might say that I've grown up here. Now, fast forward about 55 years was when I first heard about the honor flight. A friend of mine, Bob Breen, had one-on-one, and I'd talked to him about it, and then later Bob passed away, and his memorial was to the honor flight. So after a year or something like that, Bev Fuller Mortimer called me and wanted to know if I wanted to apply to go. And I said, no, there's a lot of veterans that's older than I am, and they'd ought to have a chance to go first. So they did, but last year I went ahead and made my application. And in March of last year, I got a letter saying that I was going. We left the Concordia parking lot 7 o'clock in the morning, and Mr. Kennedy was with me. The two of us went. And we flew out of Kansas City. Well, we stopped in Salina and picked up about 12 veterans and guardians from Lincoln and Salina. So then we got on to Kansas City, and the pilot was a 22-year-old or 22-year veteran of the Air Force. She flew AWACS planes, which are a weather plane, and some other type. She came in the gate and she called my name out, and I said, "Yeah, what did I leave or where?" And she says, "Well, I'm the pilot that's going to fly you to D.C. But first, I'm going to escort you down the jetway and onto the plane." And I said, "Well, there's a guy older than I am here." "Well, he's already on the plane." So we went down and we were talking on the way down, and we got to the gate, and this flight attendant says, "Nobody gets on the plane without me getting a hug." And I heard Carl say, "I'm going to go through the line twice." So anyway, we boarded, and we had a female pilot, a female co-pilot, and a female flight attendant. Now, if there was any more, they were all female, so I didn't see any others. Anyway, we had a very good flight into into D.C. After we arrived and boarded our bus, the pilot and the co-pilot and flight attendant came down and got on the bus and visited with us a while before they went ahead and left. Getting off the plane in Reagan Airport, we were greeted by Brigadier General Aaron Walter. His uncle was Gerald Walter from Lincoln, who was a Korean vet on the honor flight. There was a large group of people. I think they were all waiting to catch their flights out of D.C., and they gathered all around our gate. So, yeah, we had a big crowd. So after that, our first stop was at the Pentagon Memorial. The memorial has a unique design that captures the moment of the attack and remembers each of the 184 victims with benches, and each with a water pool and a fountain. The benches are arranged in order from the youngest victim, age 3, to the oldest, age 71. And they are positioned so visitors know where in the Pentagon, or which were in the Pentagon and which were on the plane during the attack. The second stop of the day was the Air Force Memorial, which provides a view of the Pentagon Memorial, the Pentagon, and other sites in Washington, D.C. There were 9 Air Force veterans on the trip. The memorial is made up of 3 spires, each different heights, but all are over 200 feet tall. The number of 3 is significant to the Air Force because it represents its 3 core values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. The spires also reflect a bomb burst maneuver, and the 3 spires also stand for 3 of the 4 planes from the missing man formation. Day 2 started with an early breakfast, then getting on the bus by 7:30. We experienced early morning rush hour traffic in D.C., and that's something you got to see to really appreciate, I guess. There were 6 lanes of traffic, and we were in the outside lane. I looked out the window, and 9 out of 10 of the vehicles had one person in the car, the driver. All heading to work, but they all took up parking space and took up road space. So they could get together and carpool, I guess. First stop of the day was at the World War II Memorial, where Senator Jerry Moran met the group and thanked them for their service. Took time to listen to stories and visit with everybody. World War II Memorial features the granite columns representing each U.S. state and territory at the time of World War II. So Alaska and Hawaii are not represented as a state, but as a territory. They surround an impressive pool with fountains that shoot high in the air. Quotes can be found around the memorial with references to the theaters, the campaigns, battles, and all about the war. Carved in marble is, if any, the older people might remember Kilroy. There were signs all over, used to be. Kilroy was here. Well, they've got him engraved in marble on that. A wall contains 4,048 gold stars. Reminds us that the price for victory was more than 400,000 American lives. Each star represents 100 lives lost. The NCK Honor Flight was able to honor 2 World War veterans on this trip, Marion Levinsky from Belleville and myself. The next bus stop of the day allowed the group to visit 3 more memorials: Lincoln Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, and the Korean Memorial. One famous quote is engraved in stone on the Korean Memorial: "Freedom is not free." The Korean War was relatively short, from June of 1950 to July of 1953, but more than 36,000 Americans died during this conflict. The memorial's design contains 19 stainless steel statues representing the Navy, Air Force, Army, and the Marine Corps. They're walking through juniper bushes, little short evergreens, which was to represent rice paddies. And the honor flight escorted 12 Korean veterans to the memorial. Final memorial stop was the Vietnam Memorial, made up of a wall, the Women's Memorial Statue, and 3 servicemen's statues. More than 58,000 names of men and women lost in the war are engraved on the wall. The wall is a black granite, and they're all etched in there. And it's big, it's long. A group of the Vietnam veterans found names of friends and family on the wall under very emotional circumstances. Following lunch on the bus, the group then toured the U.S. Memorial to the Holocaust. The U.S. Holocaust Museum is a sobering experience that tells and shares the artifacts of the Holocaust. Visitors are given an identification card of a random victim or survivor of the Holocaust as they travel through the chronological events of this sad time in history. Just after the honor flight visit, Elie Wiesel, and I don't know whether that's a lady or a man, a Holocaust survivor and founding chairman of the museum, passed away. The group then made a short visit to the Marines Memorial, Iwo Jima, and then it began to rain. The rain did not deter the 4 Marines on the honor flight. The memorial was inspired by the 1945 photograph of the 6 Marines raising a flag on Mount Suribachi in World War II on Iwo Jima. It is dedicated to all of the Marines who have died in service since 1775. Our final event of the day included Arlington National Cemetery for the changing of the guards ceremony, as well as a wreath ceremony at the tomb of the unknown soldier. The group arrived with a light rain falling, which turned into a downpour, but it didn't stop any of the participants from watching the ceremony. With rain ponchos and umbrellas, the group witnessed the impressive changing of the guard ceremony. The soldiers conduct this ceremony with precision, 21 steps, pausing 21 seconds, then reversing the direction, 21 steps, stop, 21 seconds. The reference of the 21 is to the 21-gun salute, the highest military honor. The tomb is guarded 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Just as the ceremony was ending, the rain lightened up just in time for the honor guard flight representatives to lay the wreath at the tomb of the unknown. Damon Christensen, Korean veteran from Concordia, Marion Levinsky, World War II veteran from Belleville, Clark Stubering, Korean veteran from Woodward, Oklahoma, and myself were selected to lay the wreath. The group was scheduled to attend an Air Force band concert and the singing sergeants on the step of the Capitol that evening, but rain canceled the outdoor event. Day 3, Senator Jerry Moran arranged for a visit of the U.S. Capitol. We watched a short movie about the Capitol. We had a guide who was a lady, had probably been there 50 or 60 years, had been working there a long time. She knew everything, and she had a lot of stories to tell. Last stop was a Navy memorial. We had 6 Navy veterans, and it was time to return to Reagan Airport for our 1:20 flight back to Kansas City. After the evening meal, we returned to the motel where we had mail call. Bev and Cindy must have contacted someone at home for each veteran to tell them about mail call. I had notes from my children, my grandchildren, and pictures from my great-grandchildren, and notes from about a dozen employees. This was a surprise. It wouldn't be fair not to mention the guardians. They play a very important part of the trip. We had 24 on our trip. We had about 10 students, some sons, some daughters of veterans, a spouse or two. They were the first ones off the bus and the last ones on. They had to store about a dozen wheelchairs under the bus, get them out at each stop. We carried water and ice with us. They would put some of the coolers in the wheelchair. They didn't everybody use a wheelchair. The students were always visiting with the old folks. Yeah. And they had a ton of questions, but they were really neat kids. Dr. Breeding from Salina had his son with him, and his dad was a Vietnam veteran. So it was very interesting conversations. The 2 women in charge were Bev Mortimer and Cindy Atwell. Both did an excellent job. This was their 6th trip. I asked them if this trip went as smooth as their first, and they just kind of smiled. Said the first trip changed hour by hour. It was a wonderful trip, and I would encourage any of you to take advantage of it if you so desire. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. No, I won't be available next year.
Thank you, Jack. I do have the photo album that we got on the trip if anybody would like to look at it afterwards. And right now we're going to have Harold Meyer. He's a loyal vet here to present the wreath. He's a Vietnam vet. We would like for all the veterans to come up here for a picture. We would like to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Harold. And thank you, my son Brody, for helping me set up. And also, we have some new benches out here by an Eagle Scout devoted. And we want to thank him for his Eagle project. and stay around and visit. And remember, I had this photo album for anybody that wants to look at it. So let's have the Veterans Forum up here and we'll get some pictures. Let's go over there.
Hi, Larry.
Hi, Jeff.
Come on, let's get right up here, everybody. Right up. If you can't see the camera, they can't see you. Let's move right in.
You don't see cameras?
Here they come.
The older you're getting, it's not hard to stand. Right.
It would help if you'd dance or do something funny.
Well, you're the funny one, Sean, as we all know. Maybe I'll get